I'm a long-term fan of Hornby's Class 43 HST and Mk3 coaching stock. Hornby did a retooling a few years ago based on moving from a slam door to sliding door based coaches for a limited set of liveries, and these included some added detail and kinematic couplers. In 2022, Hornby started rolling out retooled Mk3s across all supported liveries. How do these coaches compare to the previous versions, and do they warrant you upgrading? It's time to take a closer look. Hi, thanks for joining today's review. So rather than doing an unboxing, we're going to kick off with a comparison between a 1999 tooled coach and one of the new 2022 tooled coaches. We'll then do our close-up view and then get into a running session, and we'll actually do two running sessions, again one with the 1999 coaches and the other with the 2022 coaches, just to get a view as to how they look on the track. We'll then get into our summary, scoring and final recommendation. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so I'm going to start with the pre-existing Mk3 coach type. I purchased these last year. I reviewed them last year. They are in the attractive First Great Western livery, the kind of newer version of that. And I guess they are based on the older design of coach from Hornby. So you can kind of see that from the gangway area. It's kind of relatively bland. And also from the coupling arrangement that's here, which is a fixed coupler to the bogie. So everywhere the coupler goes, the bogie goes. And that it's quite robust, so that's one of the advantages. So these coaches will last forever. This thing never breaks. There is an M pocket in there, so you can change out the coupler, and you do get an option. Not that I think you're ever going to use it in the detailing kit. But it does have some limitations, and if you want to get to the kind of close coupling that most people would like to see and is more authentic and more kind of realistic looking on your train, then this isn't quite going to do it for you. Albeit using this Lima type coupler here, which is quite a stable type coupler, it has quite a positive connection between the coaches, and it also has quite a close coupling connection between the coaches. So this is probably as good as you're going to get on this type of fixture or this type of assembly with these coaches. So that was yesterday's Mk3 from Hornby, and here is today's, or the 2023. They did start introducing these so-called kinematic couplers on a number of coach types, mainly when they did the transition from the slam door to the sliding door type coaches. They introduced the kinematic couplers with those coaches, and now they've basically done it across the range. So you can now see that the bogie runs freely on its own, doesn't have any connection to the coupling assembly anymore, and the coupler now is here and can move independently. Now, pre-fitted, these will come, or will tend to come pre-fitted with the tension lock, but they do also come with these magnetic couplers, which is really nice. And I hadn't realized that when I purchased these, but in the box you get a magnetic coupler for either end, which is great. So you're getting that out of the box as well. So they also have, if you notice, a very nice bulkhead. It's painted inside there. It's more, it looks better, and they've got the bit of detailing fitted there. Normally that detailing would kind of come in the detailing pack, but it's actually pre-fitted on these. And they've got some extra detail on the bogies relative to the older coach types, and these ones also have painting on the wheels as well. Now, some of this is down to the particular livery as well, but the detail on the bogies isn't. The extra detail at the end here, underneath, and at the bulkhead, that's a characteristic of the retooled coaches, along with the kinematic coupler. And so I guess these are better. They're more detailed. You can close couple them probably as close as you can get using these type of magnetic couplers. They work really well. My running session with this set uses all of these, and it uses these on the park and dummy cars as well. So the entire train has got is close coupled with these magnetic couplers. And obviously the convenience of magnetic couplers is enormous when you're moving cars around the track, etc. It's just pulling them apart is so much easier than trying to uncouple them. And they're pretty secure. I haven't had any of them break off yet. Maybe I haven't been running large enough trains, but I have found them really reliable so far. The out of box are the Hornby ones, and I've purchased additional versions of these Hornby magnetic couplers to do some other rolling stock that I have that doesn't have them, but does have kinematic fittings like these. So I have to say I am well pleased with these and the fact that they include the magnetic couplers. And I do have to say that I do believe they are superior. A lot more detail here at the end, the ladders, a lot more detail on the bogie, looks nicer, more detail on the bulkhead, and you've got the kinematic coupler and you've got the magnetic couplers in the box. I don't have the earlier versions of these coaches, so I can't do a direct comparison to them. But I think these are superior. And one other thing, just I suppose to highlight, and you'll notice it underneath here, the kind of little space here, and let's take a look at this guy. Okay, so I've just taken off this little compartment at the bottom. There's a small screw. There's a little door that kind of opens up, flips up. You need to stick a screwdriver in there to pop it up. And it's got room for a little battery and to power lighting within the coach. Now, I'm not a fan of batteries providing lighting in coaches, I'll just be honest, and if you've seen some other videos I've done, I usually don't like that. It's very convenient, you know, it's pretty straightforward to get a strip, put it in there, wire it up, but that will then give you, I suppose, lighted coaches for a limited period of time until you have to change the batteries again. Issue with that is you're going to get different intensities depending on where the batteries are. Each of the batteries on every, you can have batteries in every coach, and they're going to wear out at different points in time, so you'll get different light intensities on them. And the fact you just have to keep changing them, you have to maintain them. And if you don't change them, then you may run the risk of battery leak. If you just leave this in the box, for example, with the batteries in it, then you could get leakage and damage to the coach. My preference would have been, and this wouldn't have cost Hornby anything. See these little wheels here? They've got insulators on both sides. Why did they do that? I would have much preferred if they had an insulator on one side and connectivity between the wheel and the actual axle on the other. And so you could reverse them here, and so you could actually put in little coils to connect to those and get contacts, and then actually just provide little bits of, usually you can wire it up through here, through the center hole in the coach, and feed that up into your lighting circuit. But to have the wheels, at least have the wheels in that form, so you can use them straight off the bat. Even nicer would be to have contacts already on the wheels that you can tie into. That would be fed up already, so that you'd have something to connect to within the body of the coach. And then that saves you a whole lot of work and cost in terms of putting lighting into these coaches. And then it's a matter of getting your LED strip. Obviously you'll still need a little bit of a circuit to rectify the power, etc. So it works in both directions, all that kind of thing, and works on DCC. But it would be a lot simpler. Whereas here now, these aren't going to work. You're going to have to swap these guys out. You're going to have to put in your own axles, or you'll have to use a suitable way of tapping off those wheels to get the power into the coach if you want to power your lighting that way. So I just think they haven't provisioned for the kind of coach lighting that I would certainly, that I like, that was done on, say, the Bachmann Mark IIF coaches, which are kind of one of the really nicest lighted coaches you can purchase, very high quality coaches. I've reviewed those in the past. I'm really pleased with them. Even when Bachmann didn't, they had an option with those coaches, one that had the DCC installed and one that didn't. So it didn't have the DCC or the lighting installed, but they did keep the connections. They kept the wheels and they kept the connections to the wheels. So you have pickups that you could pick up within the coach, you could wire onto, and you could wire those into your little circuit and into your LEDs. And so it was very easy to upgrade those coaches, or certainly easier than something like this. I know this is kind of a cheap and cheerful way of getting coach lighting, and Some people probably like it. It's not my favorite. I suppose it's nice that they've given you that option to do it, but I won't be taking advantage of this option. It's an extra feature of these particular coaches, which I won't be using. So other people may be fine with it, and that's what they want to use. And so I guess having the option is better than not having the option, which you don't have on these. And again, you've got the same issues with these if you want to light them. And if you look here, it's even worse because you're going to have to kind of drill that out a little bit to make space through that hole to get your wires up if you're going to put wires through there. Whereas here, you can see you've got a decent space there. You easily fit some thin wires through that to tap off these wheels or the replacement wheels, whichever you're going to end up using, and get your power into the coach. And you probably want to tap off both of them. So all in all, it is still a better coach, and I do really, really like these coaches. I love the livery on these coaches, but they are more basic. And I guess one of the problems I had at the time when these came out was they were the same price as the new coaches. And Hornby were, in my opinion, ripping people off by charging the same price. And they did the same at the same time. The HSTs that came out at the same time as this, which again were based on the old tooling, Hornby were charging the exact same price for those as for the HSTs based on the new tooling, which are superior. So you weren't getting good value for money with the older coaches and the older HST power car and dummy car. So that's it. There is a difference. It's a substantive difference in my opinion. I think the close coupling advantage. Take a look at the running session with these. Take a look at the running session with these. I'll put those links in the description. And I think you'll agree with me that this looks like a much more realistic train, and is also a more convenient train. Because with the magnetic couplers, for obviously just assembling the train or taking it apart is much easier with them. But they do look more realistic on the track as well. And obviously these are also more detailed. So it's a no-brainer. The new versions are good. I haven't had any failures yet on the kinematic coupling mechanism on these coaches. I did have failures on the Oxford Rail coaches, Mk3s, with their kinematic couplers. You do have problems when the springs come out and get broken, and that was happening on my Oxford Rail Mk3s, but I've yet to have that on these ones, and hopefully I don't. Okay, that's it. So hopefully this is of use to you, and hopefully this can act as a guide when you're purchasing. You might see some of these older coaches going at discounted prices. The reason for that, try to get the new ones. They'll give you the options, give you more options for what you want to do with them, and they look better. Okay. Okay, let's get into our close-up views. So we'll start at one end of the coach here. So you can see the underbody detail at the end there, and you've got those steps or ladders that wouldn't be on the previous coach. You can see the retooling around the door as well. You can see the added detail on the bogie there. Some additional labeling called out on the underbody here, which you wouldn't get on the previous versions of these coaches. And a nice clean finish on this particular livery. It's one of the liveries that I do like. And again, you can see that extra kind of labeling detail there on the outer body. The plastic tooling part is pretty well the same, but it's the extra detailing. And again, we've got extra detail on the bogie here, which you'll only get on the retooled coaches. And again, around the rear of the coach there. And we have a fitted magnetic coupler on this particular coach. So when we get into the next view, which is the 360 view, so we're going to see the kind of gangway area at the end there, which has got the doors are actually painted, and it looks in general better. There's labeling, etc. around that area. Again, I've got the magnetic couplers fitted, you can see on this. And we do have the buffet car here as well, the restaurant buffet car, just at the end, so you can get a look at that, and the roof detail that's on that. So you can see the additional roof detail on the buffet car. So overall, these are nice looking coaches. They are a step up from their predecessor. They've got that extra detail. They've got the kinematic coupler, and as I say, we've fitted our magnetic couplers to that. And so overall, I do believe they are an improvement, and a worthwhile improvement as well. Okay, so now we're going to get into the running session. We've got the 1999 tooled coaches here in the First Great Western livery. Quite an attractive livery. And you can kind of see the space between the coaches there, and a larger space between the coaches and the actual HST power and dummy cars. And I guess that's the drawback of the older coaches and the older HST pack as well, because which it didn't have the kinematic couplers either. These are still nice looking coaches, that's for sure, but they would have been improved with the detail. You can see the underbody there is a lot more bland. There isn't the extra detail that you get on the new coaches. And again, you'll kind of see the enlarged gap between the power car there and the first coach, and then you'll see the kind of gaps between the coaches themselves. Now these are running with, actually this is the tightest coupler that you get out of the box. It's the Lima type coupler that's used here, which actually does give you quite a tight level of coupling in general, and it's quite a reliable coupler as well, but it's still not there in terms of close coupling. But not bad. I think it's certainly livable with. Now we're running with a retooled HST power car and HST coaches, and you can still see the gap there as we come out of the station, but it is smaller. It is a bit smaller, and you may even be able to get it a bit tighter than that. The distance between the coaches here is pretty tight. Now the couplers are operating in tension here because obviously the train is moving and it's pulling. When it's static, you'll actually see the coaches are actually back to back with each other with these magnetic couplers. And you can see it's pretty good there. You can see the effect. It is tight, and it's tight there on that dummy car at the end as well. So this is quite a good improvement, and it really does improve the realism, the look of the overall train. And I think if you're a HST fan, I think this is something you would certainly look for. And for some people, this might be the reason they would upgrade to the new coaches and sell off their older stock, if you're really looking for this. And again, you can see quite a tight coupling between the coaches there, going around that bend. And again, last view here before we finish up. Again, you can see there is a little bit of a gap as they go through the station, and you can kind of see it there. It's not zero, but it is closer than you'll get with anything on the older coaches. As I say, a little bit of experimentation, you might be able to get a little bit tighter than this, but not much. You really are pretty close on the edge here. And as I said, when these coaches are static, they pretty well are back to back against each other. Okay, that's just giving you a view of what these things look like on the track. Okay, let's get into our summary. So we've been looking at the Hornby Mk3 coaches based on the 2022 tooling. They're supported on most current liveries now, though I would watch out for some of the older tooled coaches which are still lying around, and you will see a mixture, say in the LNER livery for example, of both old and new. So just make sure you're getting the right one when you're purchasing. There's added underbody and bogie detail on these coaches, and they run on a minimum radius 2 curves. And they feature a kinematic spring return coupling mechanism which replaces the fixed coupler on the bogie that was on the 1999 versions. Coupler options include tension lock, solid drawbar and a magnetic coupler, and that's welcome to see that. In terms of lighting, there is now support for the battery-based Maglite upgrade. However, there really isn't any other provision for lighting on this model, and that is a disappointment, I guess. Top scale speed, I tested these against 125 miles per hour. Unboxed weight 171 grams. And then the retail selling price, it can be anything from a kind of a discounted $34.99 to the recommended retail price, which is $44.99. Some cases you may be able to see these coaches discounted even a little bit more, down to the £30 mark. That is quite rare, but if you can get it, all the better. Okay, so for the scoring, we're actually going to do the comparison as well at the same time as we go through the scoring. And in both cases, we're looking at a really good running performance, a 10 out of 10. No derailment on these or their predecessors, and so they really are impeccable running coaches. Appearance and detail is an upgrade on the new coaches, so that goes from an 8 to a 9. And similarly for the extras and variants, we've now got the kinematic coupler in there, and we've got the magnetic coupler out of the box. Build quality is the same. I would have probably had some concerns that the addition of the kinematic coupler would probably reduce the quality and you can have more issues with that type of coupling mechanism. However, I haven't had any problems yet, so I'm putting it down as equivalent, and the same for the packaging and documentation. think the only thing really on the packaging and documentation that's missing is it would have been good to have a diagram which kind of showed how to open up the coach. Now, it's not a big deal, but I think that's something I probably would have liked to have seen. Price value, unfortunately, isn't the best on these, and this came about two years ago. Hornby did increase the prices of the Mark III coaches considerably, and they kept charging the new price for the old coaches, which is why there's a difference in score here. So if you were getting a 1999 tooled coach, you were still paying the full price of a 2022 tooled coach, which really doesn't make sense. So this one is an improvement from a value perspective, but it's nothing to write home about. Overall, the scoring, you can see there, particularly if you look at excluding the price value, both of these are very good coaches, so they're good models, they run well, but there's a definite improvement, and I think that's certainly what I've seen on the track as well. So these do look a little bit nicer. You've got the close coupling now that you didn't have before, so it's very welcome. So they are superior to the predecessors. Hornby's Mark III coaching stock have always been superb runners, but the ability to achieve close coupling was limited by the fixed bogey base coupler, which has since been replaced on the retooled coaches with a kinematic mechanism. Magnetic couplers are also provided out of the box, which is very much to be welcomed. Visually, these are the most detailed Mark III coaches yet from Hornby. Some provision for lighting with the Maglite lighting unit is to be welcomed, but personally I would have preferred more provision for adding your own track-powered lighting. While a price increase was to be expected given the enhancements, the recommended retail price and typical selling price are still relatively high and make owning a full HST train a considerable investment. I would have liked to see Hornby provide discounts for purchasing 2 or more coaches, for example, or provide a decent discount on a full 9-car coach pack. Apart from Hornby-owned Oxford Rail, Hornby still have the WO gauge Mark III market all to themselves. This has probably delayed the coaches getting to where they are now, so some competition would be welcome going forward. Still, all things considered, and if you can get them at a 15 to 20% discount, Hornby's retooled Mark III coaches come highly recommended. A big question for some modelers will be whether an upgrade to the new retooled coaches is warranted. Personally, there isn't enough in it for me to upgrade, as I don't have a local model shop who might give me a decent trade-in price on my existing coaches. I will look to add magnetic couplers to my older Mark IIIs, but that will be it for now. If Hornby had added provision for track-powered lighting on these coaches, I would have seriously considered an upgrade, as I would love to add lighting to at least one of my HST trains. As it stands, I'll hold for now, and maybe perhaps add lighting to my retooled East Coast trains coaches. With 9 coaches to cover, this is a serious project, so it won't be anytime soon, unfortunately. So what are your thoughts on Hornby's retooled Mark III coaches? Did they go far enough? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I've added a quick poll on the provision of lighting on these coaches. Please check that out and cast your vote. So thanks for joining today's video. Please hit a like if you found it of use, and I'll hopefully see you on the next one. In the meantime, take care and happy modelling.